Today I want to talk about strength standards, right? We're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, and we think that if we're not bench pressing 3 plates, we're weak little bitches. For example, today I was working with 275 on the bench press, and a couple of the guys in the gym made a big deal about it, as if I was doing something that was just so amazing. And I appreciate that. But the truth of the matter is that I'm not. And maybe I am, but because of the skewed perception of strength that the internet has provided, I can't appreciate how far I've come, right? Because I'm so far from where I want to be. And so we can look at it two ways. Number one, it's skewing our perception and giving us false expectations. Or number two, it's pushing us to work even harder, right? But here's the deal, and this is what I really want to talk about in this video. When you go to the gym, okay, you are going to notice that if you go to a big box gym, like an LA Fitness, maybe even a Gold's Gym and things of that nature, depending on where you are at, you're not going to see a lot of guys bench pressing 225 for reps. You're not going to see a lot of guys squatting 315 for reps. You're not going to see a lot of guys deadlifting 405, right? And so if you live on the internet, you think that anyone who can't achieve those numbers is a pussy, right? But in the real world, it's not that common, right? Here's my take. Alright. I think that those numbers, the ones that I just gave you, are very attainable for the majority of people within maybe the first year of training. Did I accomplish those numbers in the first year? No, most people don't. Okay, and here's the problem. Most people are focused on consistency, right? So going back to yesterday's video, consistency is just not enough. If you're doing the wrong thing consistently, you're not going to continue growing. You might get those newbie gains in the beginning. Right. But if you don't start managing your volume and your intensity, periodizing your training, you're not going to continue to get stronger, right? And so you go from maybe benching 100 pounds to 185, and those are great gains. But what happens when you've exhausted those newbie gains and you can't get to that 200 pounds or that 225? That's when you have to start periodizing your training. But because you went from 100 pounds to 185 using a specific training style, right? You don't want to veer away because you think that if you watch enough YouTube videos, maybe you'll find the unlock and then you'll go from 185 to 225, and it just doesn't happen, right? So you stay stuck around that same number for a while. It goes up and down mainly because you're not managing your volume and your intensity, and ultimately, you don't get past that plateau. Okay. And so you start thinking to yourself, maybe I'm just a weak little bitch, and it's just not the case, right? I think it's fair to say that most people can achieve these numbers if they are on a properly periodized program. The problem is that most people aren't going to be on one. They don't know where to get one. They don't know what one is. And they are just focused on consistency. They think that as if they keep going to the gym year after year, they're just going to continue to grow. And if you look around you in the gym, it's just not the case. And I know I said a lot of this in yesterday's video, but I really want this to hit home. I really want you to understand that if you don't start training smart, you can potentially waste years of your life not progressing in your fitness or towards your fitness goals, right? And so 3 years can go by and you can be bench pressing 195 pounds, right? And your friends tell you got a little bit bigger and things of that nature, and that's great. Maybe you did make some progress, but you're not going to progress as fast as you could have, right? Instead of taking 3, 4 or 5 years to rep 225 for 10. It could be done in a year if you train smart, right? And so that's pretty much the moral of the story. Consistency is not the key. We talked about that yesterday. The strength standards that you see on the internet, although they may skew your perception of what's real and what's not. In the real world, right? People aren't pushing those numbers, but it's not because they're not realistic numbers. It's because people aren't training in a smart manner. Alright, so that's pretty much it, guys.